So you want to learn how to chop samples and blend it in with your own production? Well, you came to the right place. Shotty Beats here from We Got Beats LLC. Go to wegotbeats.com and get yourself a free beat when you become a free member. If you haven't done that, that's a must that you do because I got a banging beat for you to use. Okay, so let's get into this. So you want to learn how to take a sample, okay, chop it up, make a beat out of it, but then on top of just doing that, you want to sprinkle it with your own touches, your own composition. Okay, so this is a beat that I made just a couple weeks ago. It's a very famous sample, and I did a test on a lot of different people who know this song. They couldn't figure it out. That's how well blended I made this. And you're in for a real treat on how to do this. So let's go ahead and get into this. If it buffers, forgive me. This is a pretty big file right here, so I don't know how this is going to work. But as you can see, I got a couple Kontakt 5 plugins, Philharmonic, and some Nexus, and of course I got my own Shotty drums. If you want drums, I'm going to be I'm in the progress of making WeGotDrums.com, so I'm going to have my own drum kits for sale. You can go to WeGotDrums.com and put your name and email address, and we'll keep you up to date as the site progresses. But this is the Shaft sample. Okay, everybody's heard "Who Is the Man?" That's Shaft, right? Everybody's heard the Shaft theme song. And to me, if you watched my how to chop samples tutorial, like I said, I don't usually like to fuck with very popular samples or samples I've heard done a dozen times. I like to, do shit that nobody else has touched, find those gems. It gives me great pleasure to do that. But, I've been listening to Shaft a lot lately. I'm just like, it's so dope. I got to use it, but I got to use it in a way that nobody else has used it. So I loaded it up into SliceX, and I chopped up the stabs. Okay, so we got our stabs here. That's it. Okay, I added a little bit of reverb, but that's my sample. And on top of that, I didn't just take those hits. I went in and I took the hi-hat loop from the beginning. So I got 5 samples from the same song that I'm layering, not with my own drums, but with a whole bunch of composition that I laid out. So the thing that you got to learn about when you chop samples and then you go ahead and lay your own composition over it is that you're going to have to learn a little bit of music theory. You don't have to be an expert by any means at music theory, but you got to know a few things. You got to know what the difference between notes are, pitch. That's my phone. You got to know a little bit about pitch and notes. And on top of that, that's very basic stuff, learning about pitch and notes. From there, you can grow your knowledge, okay, into what does a minor chord sound like? What does a major chord sound like? So me doing this a couple of years, I kind of have a little bit of a knowledge. I won't consider myself an expert because I'm not. I'm always learning. So that's the way you should look at it. You're always learning. But I know the difference between different pitches and stuff, and what a major and minor sounds like. So when I hear this, I know that's an F. That's an F chord. Alright? That's an E chord. Okay, so I know those are F and E's, but what is it exactly? Now, I had to play with it a couple times to really get it, but they're actually 7 chords. Okay, now how I did this beat was I started it off just like you see here. Now, if you watch my how to make a trap beat tutorial, I'll tell you a little bit about how I make my beats. I usually start with 4 or 8 bars, compile my my basic beat right there, and then I sequence it out to 16, and then from there I decide what my intro, what my first hook's going to be, and what my first verse is going to be. And so from there, this is really how I started off the beat, was this. I'm going to mute my tag real fast. Okay, so as you can see, I got those stabs layered with horns, and I got it layered with strings. Okay, now you can do this any way you want. I mean, see what the brilliant thing about doing this is, it's not like you have to do it my way. Okay, I want you to think for yourself, let the music speak to you and what it needs. But I'm telling you from an example, a little sample case, what I did here, so you can get some ideas on your own. Okay, so when I heard those chops, I knew that, like, I started getting, I laid out the chops first on pattern 2. These are the samples, and then I was like, I started hearing. If you watch the trap beat tutorial beat, usually what I do is, I get up. I'm like moving around the room, and I'm getting an idea in my head while I'm doing that. Okay, so I knew that I wanted something like dun 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 dun. Like it had to be like an anthem, but it's smooth. It's just kind of like, I don't know. Like I let the music speak to me. I have my own sound, my own soul, so I know how I want the shit to sound. So that's how I started it, okay? Now, from there, you're going to lay out what I usually do is I lay out my drums and my bass, and then I got my basic beat. I'm going to mute these patterns real fast just so that you can get the feel for it a little bit. So like, this is the beat that I'm working on. Okay, this is like this is like the verse pattern right here. So I'm in the middle of working. I mean, you gotta imagine me in the room like, oh my god, you know what I'm saying? So I laid out the drums and the bass and everything, and that's basically, I know that just because of the frequencies and everything, that's gotta be the verse. So in the hook, I gotta change it up. I gotta add some spice to it. I gotta add some transitions. Different things like that, right? So I'm trying to remember. Oh yeah, that's right. I added a piano. Now I knew that I wanted to add a piano, for my bass line, because that's a real bass line. So I had a piano out already. So I was like, well, fuck it. I'm just gonna add a piano to the hook, and we'll take it from there. So from there, I just used the same chords that I used in on the start of the beat with the strings and horn pattern, the dun 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 dun. So I just used those. It's just simple chords. If you see right here, it's pattern 7 right here. Those are the chords. So from there, I took the piano and made this piano melody. Okay, so I know that that's going to be part of the hook. So I'm like, okay, well, that sounds good. What else am I going to put? Well, of course, I'm going to add a lead. You know what I'm saying? I've got to add a lead in somewhere. I mean, it's a hook. You know what I'm saying? So I have a very favorite very favorite. What the fuck is a very favorite patch? I have one of my favorite patches, lead patches in Nexus. That's why I pulled up. Okay, and that's what pattern 4 is. It's I think it's Dance Saw 5, I think it is. But anyway, I use the legato, and as you can see, I kind of, I have my bass note, and I'm just kind of going up and down. So that's what I laid on there next. Okay, after I did the piano, I was like, well, it's got to have a lead, so I'm just going to go to Nexus, get my lead, and see what we can do with there. So I'm using the same scale as the entire song. You see what I'm saying? That's the important thing to do, is find out what the notes are, find out what the chords are, use that scale when you are when you're composing over a sample, because it's already laid out for you. So when I got that, I was like, okay, that sounds good, but it's still not full enough for a hook. This would be a nice little switch up for, a part in the verse, but it's not the hook yet. So I was like, well, it's going to need some transitions. I might as well add this bell. I already know it's going to need a bell, some sort of transition. So bells are like my go-to. So I got this pulled up. And mind you, I'm using the same scale throughout the my entire production process of the shaft samples, okay? If you're pitching or slowing things down, you have to compensate for that. That means the notes are going to be different. So if I had an E and I'm slowing it down, I got to figure out how much I slowed it down to know what the key of the song is now. Now, sometimes you're going to find yourself in a situation where you are slowing it down to a point where it depends on how many cents you are slowing it down to. You might not be getting a full pitch. You might be halfway between notes that you can't really figure out. So I'm sure you could probably figure out some crazy trick. I haven't figured one out for it yet. So I try to stay in note range, okay, whenever I'm pitching up or slowing down a sample. This is just, you know, regular pitch. So after that, let me figure out what 6 is. What is 6? 6 is strings. Okay, so I finished it up with some strings. Now you can barely hear those strings, but if you hear it enough, you can tell it's fuller than when I just played it. Let me play it before and after with the strings. It sounds fuller now. So now, when I got this, I know I got the beat. There's no more frequency range I can play with because, remind you, I got to put vocals on top of it. You know, MC or a singer is going to have to come in. So the frequency range is pretty much filled up. Now I got to go into the mixing and, like, automation and, like, you know, sequencing it out to be a full beat, to be a full song. So I hope this really helped you out trying to figure out how you can blend samples and composition together. Just make sure you do a little bit of music theory. Figure out what pitches sound like. Okay? There's actually a couple tools out there that you can use to help you figure out what a pitch sounds like. If not, go the old school way like I do, use a piano. Find out what the pitch is, get some knowledge on chords, and just go in on it, okay? It's going to take you a few tries, but, you know, like the old saying goes, Rome wasn't built in a day. You know, mastering this ain't going to be in one day, so keep practicing. I hope this really helped improve your beat game, your composition game, and make sure you subscribe to this channel. I got plenty of great tutorials coming. If you got any suggestions, leave some comments in the leave a comment below, and just let me know. I love making these videos for you guys. I want to help you guys out. Like it, share it. If you know somebody that would get value from this, share it to them. Go to WeGotBeats.com, get yourself a free beat, become a free member. Go to WeGotDrums.com if you're a producer, so you can stay up to date with me as We Got Drums progresses. I got some excellent drum sounds that I know that you're going to want. Alright, just as a producer, I'm like, man, this is crazy. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, go ahead and like this video, share it, subscribe, and I'll catch you later.